This summer, we're traveling through a worship series that has us exploring a different national park or monument each week. We're looking at what makes each holy space unique, as well as what we might learn from it to inform and enrich our lives. Today's focus is on Olympic National Park in what is now Washington State, and our theme is gifts. As we celebrate the sacredness of our preserved lands, we also need to acknowledge the sacredness of these places to the first people who lived here, as well as the injustices that caused great harm. In Sequim, Washington, just outside the park boundary, a fascinating piece of history was unearthed in 1977. Researchers discovered the remains of a mastodon, an ancient large-game animal, with a spear point embedded in its ribs. The creature dates back to 13,800 years ago, showing that indigenous people have lived, thrived, and harvested the gifts of these lands, in both its harshness and its beauty for nearly 14 millennia. The Park Service recognizes several indigenous nations who have had significant ancestral and traditional ties to this land. The Lower Elwha Clallam, the Jamestown S. Clallam, the Port Gamble S. Clallam, the Skokomish, Quinault, Hull, Quileute, and Makah. Archaeological and narrative evidence shows that these early indigenous people and nations that followed were sustained largely by the gifts of the sea, including salmon and other small fish, as well as sea mammals, including whales and fur seals. All parts of the animals were used, with nothing thrown out. Many Native American tribes eventually settled into the area, living in homes made out of cedar planks. Villages were spread throughout the region, and the groups traveled extensively for resources, trade, cultural exchange, and religious purposes. All Native American groups worked together to live in balance with the land. Although indigenous people tell stories of entering the mountain region, many people in the white dominant culture would not believe that they could have traveled through such hazardous conditions. However, in 1993, while hiking in the high mountain areas during an unusually warm year, a family discovered a portion of a basket sticking out of a normally permanent snowdrift. It was carbon dated as being approximately 2,900 years old, confirming oral traditions that Native Americans did indeed travel into the mountains. When European American settlers arrived in the area in the late 19th century, things changed dramatically. The diseases they brought wiped out a large percentage of the indigenous population, including entire villages. Restrictions were made on travel, cultural practices, and religious practices of Native people. Commercial fur trade, salmon fishing, elk harvesting, and clear-cutting of the forests damaged the natural world, taking away food, trade, and the ability to conduct cultural and religious practices. Elk and salmon populations were nearly depleted within a few decades. Settlement severely disrupted the balance between humans and the land. Today, the National Park Service is working to help restore that balance. A landmark court ruling in 1974 reaffirmed the rights of indigenous groups to have full hunting and fishing rights within Olympic National Park and beyond. That ruling also mandated that the United States government was responsible for preserving those resources, gifts from the Creator and Mother Earth. Many of the original Native American nations live near the parkland. Native American ceremonies occur throughout the year within the park, with the full support of Park Service staff. One especially important ceremony occurs each spring when the first salmon return from the sea to spawn in the rivers and streams. All of the affiliated nations gather for this important event where all are welcome to share in expressing gratitude for the gifts of the sea and the land. May we, as Good Samaritans, restore our own connections to the land. May we express our gratitude for the gifts Creator has given us. May we use and share those gifts responsibly, respectfully, equitably, and in balance with all creation. as relatives to all life.